A Missouri nurse was given 12 years in prison for poisoning her husband and setting her house on fire to cover her action. And all this happened because she was having an affair with a person that was in prison. Now let's dive into today's story as we try to figure out what was going through her mind when she made these decisions. 46-year-old Amy Murray had married Joshua Murray back in 2003, where they had a son together. Joshua owned a construction company where he worked 60 hours a week, but he did all this just to make sure his family was taken care of. Amy, she was a nurse that worked at the Jefferson City Correctional Center. And while working there, that's where she met 40-year-old Eugene Claypool. Now, Eugene is serving 25 years to life in prison for murder. Eugene was arrested back in 2000 for stabbing a 72-year-old man who had won $1.7 million in the lottery. Eugene has served over 18 years in prison before he had met Amy. When Eugene had met Amy, he was like, "Let me find out." And when Amy had saw Eugene, she was like, "Damn." And from there, that's where their romantic relationship had started. Now, their relationship went from being inappropriate at work to having phone calls while she was at home. Here's the thing with all prison phone calls. They are always being recorded. Because in some of their conversations, Amy would tell Eugene that she no longer wanted to be with her husband. In another conversation, Amy would tell Eugene that she would marry him if her husband was out the way. They would even have conversations about her getting him an attorney so he can be released early.
Through every potential outcome, and then I plan accordingly.
Now, it isn't clear if Eugene even had any feelings for Amy because when it comes to inmates, most of them are master manipulators. They try to find a way to exploit your situation, which is why in some jobs they tell you not to talk about your personal life. That's the reason why. And with a person serving 25 years to life, they have nothing but time. So all they have to do is sit down and just listen to people's conversations. Shortly after their relationship has started, Amy will get her wish. Because one day, Amy was coming back from McDonald's with her son and her 2 dogs when she knows that her house was on fire. She knew that her husband was still inside, and so she would try to do everything she could to try to get to him, but she did not succeed because her husband would perish in the fire. Now, authorities are going to mark it off as an accident until a medical examiner did an autopsy on Joshua, and that's when he found high levels of ethanol glycol in his system, also known as antifreeze. The medical examiner also found injuries on the body that suggested that he was unalive before the fire. So with all the evidence, the medical examiner will go ahead and rule Joshua's death as a homicide. Fire marshal and the sheriff's officer will go ahead and inspect the house, in which they have found that an accelerant was used to start the fire. So investigators would go ahead and bring Amy in for questioning. Amy would tell investigators that she was home for maybe 30 minutes before she decided that she wanted to go ahead and get some food. And so she grabbed her son and her 2 dogs and they went to McDonald's. She would then tell the investigators that by the time she got home, she had found her house was engulfed in flames and there was nothing that she could do. Investigators didn't believe that story because as they would search through the house, they had found a McDonald's sandwich on the counter as well as a McDonald's bag in the trash can, which led them to believe that Amy was home when the fire was starting.
Do you win?
I always win.
Now, during the investigation of Amy, authorities received a tip about Amy saying that, hey, you should look into Eugene because she was spending a lot of time with him. So they would pull Eugene's call logs as well as the recordings and have found that Amy and Eugene had been conversating amongst each other, as well as having a romantic relationship. And upon hearing those messages, that was when police had all the information they needed to arrest Amy. So in February 2019, Amy was arrested for the murder of her husband. But shortly after her arrest, she posted bail of over $750,000. And for the next 6 years, Amy would try to fight these charges. Why would she unalive her husband instead of just getting divorced? And the reason why is because Amy is what is known as a black widow. A black widow is a person who unalives their partner for monetary or materialistic gain. And the method that's mainly used to get rid of their partners is poisoning. So in Amy's situation, with her husband out the way, she gets both his life insurance policy and control of his company. Amy and her defense team tried to come up with an argument saying that her husband tried to take his own life, where Josh was the one that drank the antifreeze and set the house on fire. The judge wasn't buying any of that. Amy will go ahead and take a plea deal where she ended up taking an Alford plea. An Alford plea is almost the same thing as a no contest, but it's completely different. An Alford plea means that you are pleading guilty, but you also maintain your innocence. Now, as part of her Alford plea, she was given 12 years in prison for murder. She was also given 7 years for arson and 4 years for tampering with evidence. Now, both charges are run concurrent with the murder charge, which is only 12 years. So by the time she gets out of prison, she'll be 59 years old. Now, Eugene, on the other hand, nothing happened to him because there was no evidence that proved that he was involved in the murders, nor did he give any suggestive ideas on how to do so. So what do you think? Do you feel that she got the appropriate time for the crime that was committed? Or do you feel that she got off easy? Go ahead and put your comments down below. And if you like more forensic analysis of cases like this, go ahead and stay tuned for more videos to come. Be careful with who you trust.